So today's the day, or I suppose yesterday was the day, I'm a bit late to it. GM just unveiled the 2023 Chevy Corvette Z06. Now, I'm not going to lie, this thing looks great. Personally, I'm a big fan of the design of the mid-engine Corvette. I've never been a huge fan of the older models, the front engine personally, but I have a preference for mid-engine performance cars, so don't get mad at me, that's just my opinion. So this thing boasts about 670 horsepower, which is 180 horsepower more than the Stingray model that came before it, which had about 490 horsepower. You could bump that up slightly with a performance package. Now the red line though has moved from about 6,400 RPM in the Stingray to about 8,600 in the Z06. I believe it's a little over that, but it's in that range. But that is pretty crazy and honestly pretty impressive. So Chevy has been producing Z06 models of every Corvette since about the 5th generation in 2001, which is much after the very earliest Z06 dating back to 1963 actually came as a special options package that was intended for racing, but it ran a very small production run of about 199 cars. Anyhow, Z06s are essentially optimized for performance with more power, better handling, and body. So in 2023, just about everything here on the Z06 is bigger than the Stingray, from the body, the wheels, the brakes, and the rear wing. Most of this is functional though, and provides better performance via increased airflow and downforce. There's also no doubt the car sounds much different than the Stingray model that came before it. Check these videos out.
Now, of course, because the car isn't all the way warm yet, it's not going to let us rev any farther. That's probably the limits of what I'm allowed to do, which we will definitely take.
According to GM, engineers spent 2 years perfecting the sound of the Z06. Anyhow, some engine specifics here. The very first C8 Stingray had a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8, made about 490 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. And again, as I mentioned earlier, these numbers could be slightly raised with a Z07 Performance Package, and it all paired with an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Now, for the new Z06, we get an entirely new engine. A naturally aspirated double overhead cam 5.5-liter V8 with a flat plane crankshaft. And it makes about 670 horsepower and about 460 pound-feet of torque. This, of course, paired with the 8-speed dual-clutch transmission that we've seen in the Stingray model. As mentioned earlier, this thing revs about 8,600 RPM, which is a whopping 2,000 RPM more than the predecessor. GM actually calls this the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 ever offered in a production car. And it honestly checks out. The runner-up would be on the Mercedes SLS AMG Black Series, which makes about 622 horses, compared to the Z06's 670. Now, let's talk about the interior of the vehicle. Now, not much has changed here from the original Stingray model, and you'll be able to see that. Now, you can upgrade the Z06 with a Z07 Performance Package, and that includes Michelin Cup 2R tires, a full car aero package, front lip, ground effects, canards, and a massive rear wing. Price estimates for this car, nobody honestly knows, but it's speculated to probably be around 30,000 USD, more from where the Stingray's MSRP was, which is roughly in the $60,000 range, USD of course. So you can expect to pay in the neighborhood of about 90,000 USD for a Z06. Honestly, not a bad deal at all. When you consider what you're getting, the performance is outrageous, the sound of the car is crazy. And these are some legitimate supercar stats in a car that's under six-figure MSRP. Of course, this is just the MSRP. As we saw with the Stingray models, we'll likely see these gone and shoot up an incredible amount in value. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Z06, so feel free to leave those in the comments below. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. There will be much more where this came from. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.